Hello and welcome to Genealogy Quick Start. I'm Shamel Jordan, your host today. I cannot tell you how excited I am about our special guest today. I just recently met this wonderful woman a couple of months ago, and I cannot even understand how I've lived this long without her in my life because she's absolutely I have a love for librarians and archivists. Librarians are just so special, and she has proven why I love librarians. And let me just tell you about her. Her name is Marilyn Holt, and she has been helping and serving the genealogy community for a very long time up in Western Pennsylvania. She's going to tell you all about herself. And today, she is going to share because she is a dedicated professional helping genealogists, like I said. A lot of times we research by ourselves, but there are people like our special guest, Marilyn Holt, who are sitting there waiting for you to ask them questions so that they can dig in the records and just do the thing that they love, which is genealogy. And today she's going to talk about how to craft the perfect query. Because I don't know if you know this genealogist, but there's a joke about us out there. And a lot of people don't take us seriously when we do research. And so this quick start is an effort to help us to level up when we go out to these repositories so that we can be productive and get the answers that we've been looking for. Also, my buddies Jim and Michael, they always come up with fun quick starts, and today they've come up with where's that old school. We often hear about schools, and schools come and schools go. They have wonderful ideas and tips and strategies on how to find that old school. So you guys know what to do, you out there. We love to know where you are. We love to know your genealogy group because there might be a genealogy soul out there needing saving. And that's whether you are live with us right now or you watching in a recording, because we care about you as well. So let me bring out my favorite genealogist. First up, columnist and editor James M. Beitler. Hey,
hello there.
Jim. How are you? Next up is Michael John Neal, genealogy tip of the day. I've just become your millionth follower, Michael.
Well, we'll have to send you a sticker or something.
Yeah, I want something more than a badge. That badge is corny. I want something better.
He was showing his tips there for tip of the day.
So, Marilyn's coming on. Jim, I want to first thank you for introducing me to Marilyn because she was so much fun when we did that workshop together. Hopefully, we will get a chance to spend time together again. But, you guys are out there too. You're on the front lines, speaking a lot. People come to you, they look up to you for answers. And so, do you have any memorable queries, either ones that people asked you or ones that you have put out and asked others?
Well, I have a few that I think of, but in general, they say timing is everything. And my timing beginning as a genealogist in the 1980s, the Berks County, Pennsylvania Genealogical Society for several years put out a member surname index where you could submit as many surnames and their locations, and I think maybe put a time period. And of course, this was the 80s, so we did this in a printed publication and sent this out as a member benefit. And it came, as I remember, it came in the spring, and this was like Christmas in March.
Yeah.
because you would all of a sudden have all these people who might you might have a connection to in the Reed line or the Schneider line. Well, everybody was related to Schneiders if you're German, but yeah, and I mean I literally would be writing out queries for a week to people, and then start to get some from other people. So
Wow, that's pretty cool. So I remember we used to do that at AAGG. Genealogy groups, are you still publishing these lists of surnames because they are so much fun? Guess what? I have friends from Australia because of someone who found AAGG's list online and they contacted because we shared a surname that they were looking for in Philly. So,
cool.
Michael, any memorable queries in your life?
I would say the one that sticks out, because there are quite a few of them, is one that a distant DNA match sent to me. And short version was, she said, I took my test. I found I had all these relatives in downstate Illinois, and they all had this unusual name in their tree. And I emailed the person that had that name, and she said, I don't know, but ask me. So she sent me a query. And I had to then I had to find a nice way to tell her, well, I don't think your grandpa was who you think he was, and you got a different grandpa, and I think he's the descendant of my aunt and uncle. Wasn't sure how many generations there, but that's where it looked like it hit. So I remember that one. I also remember I had to be very careful how I crafted the answer to that. I know you're going to be talking about crafting queries, but this was
Yes.
one where I had to think about how I craft the answer to that, because I'm telling somebody your grandpa, you think your grandpa ain't your grandpa, and you've got to be judicious in how you word that too. So I had to think about that as
Whoa,
well.
that one is definitely memorable. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm sure we all have these memorable DNA queries. Oh my gosh, especially adoptees and stuff. So let's see, who do we have here today with us? Did you guys have any memorable queries? Let us know in the chat. So we have Kathy. Hi, Kathy. How are you? Hey, Valerie Ann. Nice to see you. Hey, Katie, remember it was me, Katie, Michael, and Jim. That was so much fun. Yes, GSP, we have to represent. Hello, Kathleen from Indiana. Thank you for being here. Hello, yes, Barbara says, yes, Schneiders are not only in PA, but Bavarian. Yes, indeed. Hello, Kathy, again. So I love schools. And this quick start again is just so brilliant. You guys you're an endless pit of just great genealogy.
Well,
That's,
you really had
are,
to
are,
finight that, because you just said endless pits. I could have gone anywhere.
are we saying that's the good news or the bad news? So
All right, let's see what is this wonderful quick start we have today is where's that old school? So why did you guys think this quick start was important?
Well, largely because, especially if you've got individuals that went to school, which is a lot of us, finding where that location is at, you probably aren't going to find school records in a lot of these cases. Sometimes you might, but a lot of one-room schoolhouses, those records are gone, to be honest with you, unless you get really lucky. But knowing where it's at can lead you to other records. The building may still be around in one way, shape, or form. If you're lucky enough to get to go, you could visit it and whatever, take pictures. So there's just some genealogy and some sentimental things you might be able to draw from finding out more about it.
Very
yeah,
true. Go ahead. Uh-huh.
yeah, it's a way of talking about the social history of the various times. Because I know in my area, Pennsylvania, there were two big waves of school consolidations in the 30s and the 60s. And the 30s was when most of the one room schoolhouses were eliminated. My mom, who was born in 27, only missed a one room schoolhouse by a few years. And then in the 60s, a lot of the districts that were only a township then several townships and boroughs went together, and my alma mater, Schuylkill Valley, was only probably about 15 years old when I went there. So kind of finding out the circumstances of how people were schooled, what sort of class sizes they might have been in. This is all part of the histories.
And I know for African Americans, once segregation happened, those small segregated schools disappeared, and it's very hard sometimes to find a footprint for them. And so I know you guys are going to have some tips here. So let's get started with where's that old school? Step one. First, determine the time period of the school. So what kind of ways could you possibly do that?
Well, one would be to use your relatives that may have attended it or attended it. Look at when they would have been of school age. Keeping in mind that in certain time periods, not everybody went to the 8th grade or went to high school, and so you want to kind of narrow that down in some cases. But that's what you want to start with first to get a rough time frame for when they might have attended the school.
Yes, because time frame, and like what Jim said, the jurisdictional lines change, and it's amazing how far they went to school. Like, the kids, or is that in Pakistan? I can't date the show, but kids can travel quite far to get to school. So okay, go ahead, Jim.
And it's uphill both ways.
Yeah.
A topographical map will make clear whether it is or is not.
Yeah. Yes,
right.
We can easily get to the bottom of that bull story, right? All right. So step one is to determine the time period. Very important for jurisdictions and other things. Step two is to locate a map showing schools. So, like, how do you do that?
Sometimes we'll be able to do this, and sometimes we won't. We'll talk about some maps and some of the examples that we've used to find where these schools are at. A map is the ideal thing to locate if you can. That's the first. There's a few other things we're also going to talk about, but a map is what you want to try first. You want to focus on the time period that you've already kind of established in step one, and back up a little before and after it, because the same school might have been in existence for more years than just when your family went there, because it isn't all just about you. It might have been after and before as well. But county maps, plat maps, and things like that are one place to start finding some of these in rural areas. Some of these things.
And if you don't find maps, and you're really curious about these things, you might have to go to school board minutes, or in earlier times there might not have been a true independent school board, but you'd have to go to municipal minutes, of a particular township that might also have doubled as the de facto Board of Education.
Yes. All right. So we're finding that map, and it's not looking for a school map. It's just looking for general maps, and Topo Maps are great for finding schools. So step three is to learn the history of the school. So I think you were alluding to that, Jim. Where do you get these minutes you said they were school board minutes? So where do you get these minutes?
Yeah, well, of course, you hope they've been preserved, and they may or may not have been. They may be today. They may be handed down through those consolidations that whatever district it's a part of now would have some record of them. They may be at a local historical society, or some of the key ones might have been copied into a township history. A lot of townships will do a history book. There you may find some school photos in there. You'll probably at least find a description of the different schoolhouses and the years they were built. What were they one room and they housed all grades or what have you. So township histories are kind of my top thing.
Oh my God, they're fantastic.
I
Michael?
I would add, in addition to learning the history of the school, and I hope I'm not stepping on steps 4, 5, or 6, because I've forgotten what they were. But in addition to learning the history of the school, I would say learn something about the structure of schools in general in that county during the time period when your individuals went there. I had done research for a little while before I realized in the county where I'm from, and this was true in a lot of areas of Illinois at this point in time, there were 3-year high schools and there were 4-year high schools. And both of my grandparents, 3-year high schools were smaller. And both of my grandparents went to a 3-year high school, and then they completed their senior year at a larger high school that could have the 4th year. Some of the 3-year schools just were smaller, couldn't have as many faculty and staff and those kinds of things, and not everybody went to that 4th year of high school. And then after some consolidations, the 3-year high schools were gone, and they were all, in my area of knowledge, they were all 4-year high schools. But learn something about the general structure countywide, typically is the way to go with that, to get a feel for what was, what was typical during the time period.
Yeah, and there could have been entries in county histories, even as appendages to county biographical histories, that list the schools, or certainly in the biographies of people who were teachers. That's going to be, that was a distinctive profession in a time when there were many farmers.
Most definitely. Historical societies, they're just waiting for you to come and get these.
Exactly. And the local libraries too would be good
and the
places
local libraries.
to reach out. Yes.
Definitely. So learn the history of that school. Step 4 is then to reach out to the locals. This is my favorite step.
Yes, and this time Chamel was one step ahead, because you mentioned that before the slide, so I thought I had to point that out. In terms of getting some of the history, you might even want to consider talking to older retired teachers from the area who might be aware of some of those things that aren't in the history books and some of the other things that we talked about and we're going to talk about. Somebody who worked in the system for decades may have some knowledge of a little bit earlier time before them because they heard it referenced when they were early in their career, even though they didn't experience that themselves.
I mean, local expertise is one of the most underrated non-internet parts of genealogy, because for just about every area, there's somebody who not only knows the records and knows the families, but knows how all those families interrelate, and in institutions like the schools.
It's unbelievable, the institutional knowledge sitting within these places. Like I said, I used to love, like I still do, love going to Haddonfield. I felt back in the day when Kathy and Charles Anna, they were there, it felt like I walked back to the 1700s because they knew, like you said, how all the families interrelated. And it's about the community research in addition. It's like, who just said it's not all about you? It isn't. It's about you. It's about the community. So you want to think about that, even though I know that you might have felt offended. Don't offend people, Michael. All right.
It was meant as a gentle reminder. I will say that.
Yes. And I'm one of those people who like to find my stuff. And I've decided to get out of that because there's so much stuff that I want to find. I'm now calling people to say, help me with my research. So yeah, get out of that. All right. Yeah. Step 5, locate available records. So we talked about the minutes, and one of our viewers talked about another record, which I would love to see a lot more of. Jenny talked about school census records. She said are wonderful to get. She has plat maps that note where the schoolhouses are, helps me to figure out which school districts to look at, and against land records. So school census records, those are like diamonds in the rough, aren't they?
Yeah, and I think the top place you're going to find those would be a county historical society. And again, it's catch as catch can. If they've been preserved, yeah, they're not going to be diamonds in the rough. They're going to be super shiny diamonds.
Yeah.
But but others, they may not have been saved, and it may also be in private hands. I was just going to say,
because I have a teacher's grade book from a one-room schoolhouse from about 1905-ish until about 1912, the one-room schoolhouse that my great-grandfather attended. And later he was on the school board, and that's how I think I ended up with that, because I think he got a hold of it at some point, and his wife got a hold of it, and when my great-grandmother died, it was in the collection material she had. So they may be in private collections, they may be in historical societies, but you want to reach out to those individuals as well.
And we're going to share some stuff. I also doing schoolhouse research at the Historical Society. They have those commencement exercise programs, so you can see who was a part of the ceremony. Sometimes they list a student. They definitely listed who the graduates were, because the classes were a lot smaller back then. So you definitely want to check those. So let's look at some cool stuff. What do we have here, Jim?
Yeah, well, as preface to this, I mentioned my mother in passing. One of my prized pieces of memorabilia was still in her big desk. Was her salutatorian speech from 8th grade graduation? Yeah, yeah.
So that's where
Yeah.
you got your brilliance from.
Oh, hey, the apple didn't fall far from the tree, let me tell you. So, but yeah, here I'm showing Bern Township, Berks County. This is the 1876 map from a township atlas. And if you see in here, there are boundaries of all the school districts. Some bear somebody's a name, like we have circled the Seidel district, and then others are just numbered. School district number 1, school district number 2. Guess they didn't have anybody of note there. So, and then the smaller circle down below is of locating a schoolhouse. And I do have a little story that, we take our heritage pretty seriously generally in Berks County. There was a one-room schoolhouse, couple of maybe 3 miles down the road from me, that was in jeopardy because the plot it was on was sold, and they're going to turn it into a warehouse, because of course we got warehouses everywhere. And a group got together to have it moved to the county heritage site. And so that way, that one-room schoolhouse was preserved going forward.
Very cool, very cool. We did some preservation with a schoolhouse. We have a and actually, it's just kind of like what's left of the bottom part of the house. It looks like what do you call that? Okay, Kathy says normal schools. Yes, because if you have teachers, they had to get educated. And so this is another way to learn more about the schools, is by learning about where the normal schools are. Sorry, Michael, did I cut you off?
No, I was going to say probably the foundation.
Maybe yes, the foundation. That's the word. I'm having issues with my
papers
words.
that never got taken care of either. So,
and then also, Anita says manuscripts and archives are helpful as well. That's probably like, in addition to historical societies, that's probably like your next like big, giant, wonderful place. Yes, yes, yes. Oh yeah, Kathy, thank you for helping me with my words. Foundation. All right, let's see. What do we have next here? Oh,
well, this is probably one of my favorite of all the pictures I've got. This is probably one of my favorite pictures. This is from 1947. These were the students in the one-room schoolhouse that my father attended at that point in time. He's the boy with the hat on the bottom.
Yes.
Directly behind him is my uncle. They all went somewhere and were holding puppies. And when I posted this to the local county reminiscence page on Facebook, there was a lady and another gentleman that could identify everybody else in the pictures. I didn't know who they were, but somebody also told me where that was probably taken, because it was one of the gals in the picture remembered the whole incident.
Oh
So,
my goodness.
we talk about reaching out to locals. A Facebook group is one other place maybe to
That's great.
do that.
That
But yeah,
is
I just love this picture. This is a great picture.
when it said Young America, I thought that was like Young America, not the
That's
name of a
no,
place.
that's the name of the school. And I always knew where this was at, because every time we drove by it, which was often, my dad would point out where it was at until it was torn down. But this is a topo map from the 1930s. You can see the Young America School, and there's a dot under the SCH is the dot for my grandparents' home where they lived. Dad had to, there's a ditch there. Basically, he had to go down and up to get to the schoolhouse. And there's another one over, at this point in time, there were a lot of those one-room schools. There's another one shown there, Mount Zion, which is very close to where I grew up, and I was not aware there was a school there, because by the time my memory started, the one-room schools in Illinois were gone. But a topo map can be a good place to get ideas of where these schools are at in certain time periods.
Can you explain what a topo map is?
It's a topographical map, which talks about the terrain, and how you can get a picture of how level it is, how flat it is. You see the creek there, but the lines indicate, the
Elevation.
Elevation. I'm forgetting the word now. The elevation is changing there, so you can get a feel for where the hills are and how steep and things of that type. This is another picture. I'm not sure what happened to your text there at the bottom.
Sorry.
This one is from 1912, roughly. There's one boy under. Why am I pointing? You can't see where I'm pointing. My grandfather is in there. He's got two little dots above his head. His brother on the end has what looks like to be a blue comma above his head. It's kind of hard to see it, but the word victory and 227 was written on the chalk slate. Probably one of the kids gave their slate and wrote, or a teacher wrote that. That was the name of the school and the district number for that school. In Illinois, they all had at this point in time, they all had those district numbers, but every school had a name. They were obsessed about that. And this was the Victory School. And I know somebody in the comments mentioned maps of this type. This is a map from 1908, which shows the borders of District 227. So at the point in time when Grandpa went to school there, assuming the borders hadn't changed from 1908 to 1912, they lived somewhere in that area. They lived on a rental farm at the time, so I don't know exactly, but somewhere in that district they lived. The grandpa, you can see in section 21 and 20, you can see my last name there. Grandpa lived in an adjacent district, but my great-grandfather and his family must have lived somewhere in where District 227 is at.
Michael, where did you get this map? I love it.
This was in the local, I'm assuming the local historical society, local library. I think I've now got an actual paper
And which
copy
town
of it.
did you say? Because I didn't put it on the screen, on the slide.
This map was for Hancock County, Illinois.
Gotcha.
And then it was just one township after the other. And I had to do a little looking to find 227. I knew 227 roughly should be near that big metropolis called Stillwell. And so I just kind of use that as my point of reference to find it.
All right, here's another type of record.
One of the things we didn't mention, another place to get an idea of where a school might be at or to find out more about the school would be to search newspapers for the name of that school. You got to have the name of the school as the one drawback to that. But I did a search for Green Grove, which is where my grandmother went to school for a few years. And this pulled up, which I thought was really kind of neat.
Nice.
It's a voter's registration drive from 1917. So if I didn't know where Green Grove was at, this tells me it's somewhere in Walker Township. I'm not going to read the whole article, but if you read the article and think about it, the Green Grove must be in Walker Township. So it gave me a clue as to where that was, because Grandma's family at this point in time moved around a lot. And so this told me that when she went to Green Grove, she was in Walker Township. I would want to find the borders for that if I could.
Amazing quick start. What was our last step? So you're looking at different kinds of records. I love that. And then you want to summarize your findings so that you don't have to go back through this again. Someone else doesn't have to go back through it again. You now become a part of helping others. So let's run through our steps for where's that old school? Step one, determine the time. Step two, locate a map showing the school. Step three, learn the history of the school. Step four, reach out to locals. Step five, locate available schools. Step six, summarize the findings. Guys, that was super fun. I love schools. Have a good one.
Thanks.
Hello, hello. Let's get ready for our special guests. 1 second. All right. Without further ado, let me just tell you about Marilyn really quick before she comes on. So, Jim, Marilyn, Katie, and I were speaking together in a workshop, and Jim comes in a Hawaiian shirt. And I'm like, oh my goodness, we need to all have Hawaiian shirts. This needs to be a thing, like our uniform, Hawaiian shirt. So I said, Marilyn, I don't have any. Do you have any? She says, I have quite a collection. So we're going to go all hang out with Marilyn, get some Hawaiian shirts. Without further ado, let's bring our special guest on. Marilyn with the cool Italian name, Holt. Marilyn, how do you say your cool maiden name?
Oh, Cacciola.
Cacciola. All
Yes,
right.
my father was Italian, and actually he was from Newark, New Jersey. My mother was German and Irish, and she was in Pittsburgh. So when my father came to Pittsburgh for work, he was working for Pittsburgh Plate Glass and transferred to Pittsburgh. He met my mother, and he stayed here. He did not go back to New Jersey. They were married and had 5 daughters. I have 4 younger sisters.
Oh my! Oh, you're the top of the line. Okay.
Oh, yes, yes. I'm the leader.
So Marilyn, as the leader, obviously at some point, you got bit by the bug. We'd love to know from our special guest your 1-minute genealogy story, how you got started, and when you knew you were bit by the bug.
Well, let me tell you, it was funny. I went to the Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh. I interviewed for a job in the local history department, and the head of the department was Maria Zini, a very lovely Italian maiden lady. And she said to me, we do genealogy in this department. And I said, yes, I do know that. I'm interested in genealogy, and I'd love to learn more about my family. And she said, good, then you can deal with it. It turned out that she didn't want to do genealogy or help genealogists at all. And that'll be 40 years ago this coming December.
Oh my goodness.
Of 1983 was when I started at the Pennsylvania department. And since she gave me the opportunity, I grabbed it and I ran with it. So genealogy became my thing.
We love that it became your thing. And so we want to talk about how we can help others to help themselves when they reach out to the locals, as Jim and Michael say, as a part of their quick start. You have to reach out to the locals because there's wonderful people like you sitting there just waiting for us to call, right?
Well, as I told you, Shamel, I am retired from the Pennsylvania department, but I am still volunteering through the Western Pennsylvania Genealogical Society. And I am the volunteer who answers their telephone line. So I pick up all the telephone messages. So it's almost as if my life has never changed because I am still helping people. I am listening to their queries and trying to point them in the right direction. So that's how we came up with our discussion about queries.
Yes.
Because I deal with them on a weekly basis again. I'm in the library every Thursday, And twice a week, I answer the phone line, clear off the questions, and get back to the people who have left a query.
All right. So let's now help people to help themselves to get the answers that they want. All right. So let's start with this wonderful quick start called, is it coming? Yes. Crafting the perfect query. All right. So step one is to contact the proper location. So Marilyn, we know where we're calling. What are you talking about?
Oh, yes. The best is when the lady called twice on the line and said, "Is this Mercy Hospital?" No, it's not. And I don't think you want me to help you in any kind of physical emergency. I've had people who've left messages saying, "Is this the Historical Society?" I've had people who have been calling and saying, "I need to find someone in Westmoreland County." Who? Anyone in particular? Can I just connect you? So it is important to think about what institution you're trying to get in touch with, where you think they are located, and how this is going to help you to start your research or to continue it. So
yes,
think about who it is that you need to talk to and what resources you're hoping that they can connect you with.
Yes. Okay. So make sure it's not as simple as I thought. Let's level up, genealogists. We really should know where we're calling. Like, seriously.
Yes.
All right. So know where you're calling. All right. Call the right place. Step two is to submit a detailed query. So this is when things get a little hinky. What do you mean when you say a detailed query?
Well, when you're calling, there are things I would like you to tell me. Your name. Yeah. Where you're calling from. Okay. Your phone number. Your email, if you want me to contact you by email. And just exactly who or what we're trying to talk about. Because people will call me and they'll say, "My name is Joe Schmo, and I'm calling you to find out how you can help me find my family." I'm not making this up. I'm not making this up. So, I mean, this is heartbreaking, guys. It's heartbreaking because when I call you back, we're going to have to start from square one. Now, if you called me up and you said, "Hello, my name is Joe Schmo. I'm looking for information on my relatives who lived in Pennsylvania. I think that they were in Pittsburgh. This is the time period that I think they lived there." So we can go on from there. Give me your phone number or give me an email, and I'll know that you are in the right place and looking for the correct information. And we'll go on from there.
Because I think what people don't realize, especially the person who said how to find my family, is that once you get that message, you can actually, if you have the right information, you could start looking right then.
Certainly, right
and when
away.
you call them back, you can call them
Right
with
away.
information as opposed to what the heck are you talking about?
That's right. Seriously.
All right. So we want to be detailed with the how to get back to you and what's your freaking question, right? What is your question? Marilyn, they don't have nicknames for genealogists in where you're at, because I know they had some disparaging things about us in other locations.
Oh, not at the Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh. Mr. Carnegie would not approve. We take everything very seriously in the Pennsylvania department. Okay. And helping our patrons is always number one. Number one. You know, I always told my staff, I'm so happy to see all of my patrons, some when they come and some when they go. But we take them seriously.
Take them seriously. Okay,
That's
so
right.
Submit a detailed query. And then step 4 is to share known information and records collected.
That's right. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I don't want to go and look at things you've already found. I've noticed many times when I'm on Facebook that people will actually do research for people, and then they'll be told, "I already found that." So, you know, you're wasting time and you're wasting resources. So let's talk about, you found them in this census, this city directory, you know where they were, you found them when they moved on to Indiana, Illinois, wherever it may be, so that we can get everything into the proper time frame and then figure out where we want to start looking for information. So it's better for me and it's better for my patron to make sure that we're on the same page and we know exactly what we're looking for.
Records collected is like the first thing that should come out your mouth after this is my question and this is what I found.
That's
and
right.
This is what I didn't. I searched for this and I couldn't find.
That's even better. That's right. What you didn't find.
Do you prefer your queries? You get queries via phone and via email?
Well, I deal with the phone queries.
Okay.
Lois at WPGS deals with the email queries.
Okay.
And then at the Carnegie Library in the local history room, they have both phone and email queries registered on what we might call a ticket system.
Oh, yes.
So as they come up, then the staff will grab one, work on it, and then go on from there. Email the person back or call the person, whatever is the most appropriate approach.
Okay. So you can
it's
do it
a well-oiled machine.
ways. Love it. Love it. All right. So you shared what you know. This is like a research plan. What's your question?
Yes.
Right? What do you know? What do you have? And so then step 4 is you said respond to questions. So Marilyn, are you saying that you call people back and they don't respond to you?
Seriously. Seriously. And one of my staff at the library told me one day that she had tried to call person back, and the person had something on their telephone on their machine that said, "This number is not responding."
Oh,
and I'm thinking, what are you doing? Is this like a trick? Is this a trap? You trying to break my heart? What? You know why? Don't bother calling then. But that's entirely true. And I will call people and I'll say, I'm responding to a message that you left on our line. This is my name and number. Please return my call. And they don't call me back. Well, who do they think is going to call them? Nobody else. So, and it's hard because also the other thing is that I give them my cell phone number. So I'm prepared to talk to them anytime, day or night. Just call them. You remember Frank Zappa had a song once, call any vegetable, call them today, and the vegetable will respond to you. So, hey, vegetable, respond to me. But I'm really, I've already started that titanic struggle to find information for you, but you have to join me. It has to be a joint effort. So yeah, call me back.
Call me back. Mm-hmm. So Marilyn, this is very shocking that people do not respond to, especially after you've done some work for them. But yeah. Let's all respond to those questions. I'm trying to think, like, why wouldn't we call back? Like, what has changed in your life that
yes, that's the question I have. At some point this seemed important when you picked up the phone. So, let's keep the momentum going.
Keep it
Just
going.
Call me back.
Call her back.
I'm here.
And we're going to have some documents. You shared some documents that are, some of the most common documents that people are looking for. And then we're going to show those in a second. I think we have one more. So please respond. And then step 6. Thank the researcher. You don't get thanks, Marilyn.
Well, I'm not concerned about myself getting thanked after all these years, but there are a lot of people who have people help them. I see people helping other people on Facebook. I see my staff talking to people. When I would always try and stand by if they needed any backup. And I've seen the correspondence because I would always look at the letters they sent out and the email that they received. So thank that person because they are there to help you. And it makes them feel good. It makes you feel good. It makes everyone feel good about the exchange. So thank the researcher. And I think that it encourages everybody to continue in the process.
Most definitely. I mean, you guys are there to help us. I mean, and I
Right.
love it. Thank you, Marilyn, for all that you do. I serious. Let me share some of your documents. First up, I'm pretty sure is probably one of the. Oh yeah, what do we have here, Marilyn?
That is one of the first documents that I looked for. That is for my family. That is my grandmother's young brother. And this is from the City of Pittsburgh death records.
Oh.
I never knew anything about him. I never heard him mentioned. And it's because obviously he died at the age of 2.
Yeah.
He would not have known him. And no one else in the family ever talked about him. So I was very happy to find this document. And so this is one of the more thrilling finds that I had when I started doing some research in the Pittsburgh City Records, births and deaths. Many years ago, the county gave my department the microfiche for the records, the local records for the city of Pittsburgh, the city of Allegheny, Allegheny County, McKeesport, Sewickley, Wilkinsburg, all the small municipalities. And we took that microfiche because I knew it was a service to the patrons to have it available at the library.
Yes,
so
definitely.
I made a test search under my grandmother's maiden name and
this popped up. Oh my goodness. Very nice. Love this. Here's another one. I know that you probably get questioned. You're looking through these all the time.
This is a great example that I use in my teaching. I teach beginning genealogy at Osher, the Lifelong Learning Center at the University of Pittsburgh for seniors, non-credit courses for seniors. And so this is a good example to show people the kind of information that you can find on these early Civil War draft records. And the reason that I enjoy it so much is because it tells you about whether people have already served, whether they're in the service, whether they have been invalided out on some kind of surgeon certificate. And the very bottom of the document tells us that a particular individual has a surgeon certificate which states that he is crazy. Nothing else. They don't want him because he's crazy.
I see it. There it is. Crazy.
Yes. So everything else is so informative about people serving, any wounds that they have, all of those things. But then at the bottom, it just says surgeon certificate. Crazy. So I guess that surgeon was not a specialist. But I always like to show people that you just don't know what you're going to find in a document like that.
You don't. Here's another one. I love looking at these cards. What do you love about this, Marilyn?
Yeah, this is I like to use this as my example for the Civil War pension files because this is the card for President Garfield.
Oh,
so here he is, and it shows us what he did in the Civil War, his service, information.
Oh my goodness.
Very, very enlightening. In the upper corner, it is stamped that he is dead. Yes, he is.
He's dead.
And it lists his death on the bottom in Long Beach, New Jersey.
Long Branch.
Yes, and that was where he died after he was assassinated.
Wow.
So, and it shows us that Mrs. Garfield did receive a widow's pension, And you see it
Nice.
right there in the middle, shows us the date and the information on it. But it tells us that he was the president of the United States, just in case we don't know. So I always think that's a good example to show people, because I want them to see the kind of information you will find on the card, and what you can expect to look for then when you actually go and look for the pension application and the files.
Very cool. Oh, this is the record I thought we were. Yeah. So I know the people want these records for sure.
Yes. So people ask all the time about passenger arrival records. And so this is an example that I like to use. So Shamel, what's the name of the ship?
SS Titanic.
Yes. And you'll see that in parentheses, it has the Carpathia. So what they were doing is they were reconstructing these records, because you see on the very top, it tells you that you can't bring these people into port without a physical record. So they were getting the information that they could from the people that were actually on the Carpathia, because they had to take them into port and they had to have some kind of manifest. You couldn't just leave them off helter-skelter. So this is a reconstruction that I found. So I like to use this because people are always really surprised when I ask them to tell me what ship these people were on.
Wow.
So those are some of the examples that I use when I give my my beginning classes. And I like to give some people, put a little twist in there so people are intrigued and they remember it, that way they're, oh yeah, this is fun. This is fun stuff, because it's been fun for me. I had 37 years of fun when I was working at the Carnegie Library. And when they moved us up to the third floor, I told everybody it was because they didn't want to know what I was doing up there. So I was just running amok, and we were having a great time. My boss came into my office once and said, "Why does this place smell like a bakery?" I said, "Because we're eating." Man does not live by bread alone. So
let's look.
I went in the other day, and I said, it was my Thursday, my volunteer day, and I said, "There's no food in this office." I said, "How am I supposed to live? Why do you even have me here?" So the next time I came in, I brought in pretzels and chips, sun chips, the healthy chips.
Yes.
I brought in goldfish.
Nice.
And I brought in some little candy bars.
That's fantastic.
I said, now, this is a proper place of work.
Yes, and you're motivated. You needed those Swedish fish for motivation. I get it.
Feed the little gray cells.
Let's look at your quick start for crafting the perfect query. Step 1 is to contact the proper location. It's not as simple as I thought. Step 2, include the name, your phone number, your email, and your time zone. Step 3, submit a detailed query. Step 4, share what you know and the records collected. Step 5, respond to questions. Oh my gosh, I can't believe we do this. And step 6, thank the researcher. Gratitude goes a long, long way. Let's bring, so Marilyn, thank you so much for that quick start. Anyone who's doing Western PA, she's sitting there waiting for you to call. Just sitting, like
that's right.
Sitting there. She's right there. Can't call her back. Let's bring Jim and Michael back on so that we can say goodbye to you guys. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. And let's see, we have one more thing. What are we saying over here? Oh, Kathy says that the majority of the men in her county paid $1 so they wouldn't have to serve in the Civil War. Interesting. But yes, everyone loved you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Send those perfect queries and find those old schools. Thank you very much.